Awesome Tubers? It's your boy, David Awesome, and I'm coming at you guys again with another interesting and spooky topic. Today we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to be showing you the real-life recordings that inspired the exorcism of Emily Rose, and they are way scarier than any movie you've ever seen. Now before we start this video, I'd like to say I'm getting all this information off ranker.com, so if you'd like to go look this up yourself, you can. And also, if you're new to the channel, please go check out my other content and thumbs up this video if you like this. And if you're kind enough to hit that subscribe button, I always greatly appreciate it, and I always read all the comments that you awesome tubers comment on my videos, because I love reading that stuff, and I love that we are up to 58 subscribers now. Let's keep it going, guys. In 1975, Annalise Mitchell exhibited some undeniably bizarre and frightening behavior, and her mother was at her wit's end. Michelle's mother contacted the Catholic Church to exorcise her daughter. Annalise had been hearing voices and exhibiting violent reactions to religious objects, hallmarks of demonic possession, and her parents were convinced she was possessed. The tale of the exorcism of Annalise Michelle was the bias and basis for the 2005 movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose, but the real story behind her behavior and her ultimate death is much more terrifying than any Hollywood movie could have imagined. Annalise grew up in Germany with a staunchly Catholic mother, so she grew up in Germany with a very religious mother. She was born in 1952. Annalise Michelle was brought up by Bavarian parents alongside her sisters. Annalise's mother had a daughter prior to Annalise's birthday, but the child Martha died at the age of 8. The death of Martha prompted Annalise's mother to put a lot of pressure on the young Annalise, particularly when it came to prayer and religious devotion. Annalise was a good student, especially when it came to language study, and she was described as a happy and playful, but was under the constant watch of her parents. The family attended Mass twice a week, and according to doctors Annalise met with later, she developed neurosis related to religious incravery as a result of punishments inflicted upon her as a young girl. So I'm sure religious stuff sets her off, because she was abused when she was younger, so that's unfortunate. She began to demonstrate symptoms of epilepsy and experienced social stigma at age 16. While at school one day in 1968, Annalise blacked out for a few minutes and was in a trance-like state according to her friends. Annalise didn't remember the event and said she was fine afterwards, but the same night she woke up to a heavy feeling on her body and then wet the bed. She was kept home from school until the next day, but there were no reoccurrences and the family thought she was fine. More than a year later, in August 1969, Annalise had an eerily similar episode and was taken to a doctor to determine what had happened. Her local doctor, Dr. Vogt, referred her to a neurologist, Dr. Stringfried Luthi. After an examination and series of tests, the neurologist didn't find anything wrong with her brain function. After visiting him, she was hospitalized for tuberculosis in February 1970. She spent months in the hospital, and while there she experienced a third event. She was already depressed and lonely, but things got worse as other patients mocked and excluded her after she made a scene and wet her bed. Medicine didn't help Annalise, and she began to think she was cursed. Annalise eventually returned to school in 1970, but she was depressed and withdrawn around her friends. She continued to have seizures, visit doctors, and experience frustration with her situation. She threw herself into Catholic research and her studies, graduated from high school, and started college to become a teacher. Despite these efforts and continued medication, her condition worsened. By 1973, Annalise experienced hallucinations while praying and believed she was damned. She was obsessed with the idea that the devil was inside of her and began to see a priest along with her doctors. Her behavior became erratic and much more disturbing. Annalise's behavior became more extreme from 1973 onward. She allegedly licked her urine off the floor. That's pretty gross. Chewed coal, ripped her clothes off, and even ate spiders and flies. She began to avoid religious items like crucifixes and holy water, and she displayed symptoms of what the church considered demonic possession. Her family became desperate and asked several priests for an exorcism, but they declined and encouraged continued medical treatment. Eventually, the church relented and granted Annalise an exorcism to drive out any evil spirits within her. Her exorcism was to be done in absolute secrecy. The priest that met with Annalise didn't believe she was epileptic and supported the idea of an exorcism. This factored into the church's decision to allow one, although Bishop indicated it was supposed to be small and done under in secret. Fathers Arnold Renz and Ernest Ault, two priests from the local diocese, were given the task of exorcising Annalise. Father Ault was the priest who asked the church to agree to an exorcism, as he strongly believed Annalise was possessed. And if she was eating spiders and all that crazy stuff, licking urine off the floor, she's definitely either possessed or way off her rocker. Annalise underwent more than 60 different exorcism sessions. Over a 10-month period, Father Renz and Ault carried out more than 60 exorcism sessions with Annalise, each reportedly lasting hours. Audio recordings from the sessions not only reveal their efforts, but demonstrate Annalise's distorted voice and the growls and other utterances she made in response to the religious ritual. Annalise initially supported the exorcisms, but as they proceeded, she became weaker and thinner, and neither the priest nor her family sought out medical assistance. And there are audio recordings of Annalise during the exorcism, and you can listen to them on YouTube. 6 demons supposedly possessed Annalise, including Hitler, Nero, and Lucifer. During the exorcism, Father Renz and Ault talked no fewer than around 6 demons allegedly possessing Annalise: Lucifer, Judas, Iscariot, Nero, Cain, Hitler, and Fletchman, a disgraced local priest, all made appearances also. Given Annalise's background in school and obsession with Christian teachings, there were later theories that Annalise chose these figures intentionally. Annalise had to be restrained during the exorcism. Despite her slight frame, Annalise had to be held down while the exorcism was taking place. This abuse, along with a lack of medical treatment and sustenance, took a toll on her body. She died at home on July 1st, 1976. And real fast, I got Andy Cole here.
Sorry guys, I didn't mean to interrupt the video.
No, you're cool. But we expect another World of Marvel soon.
Yes, expect it soon, my friends.
Back to the topic here. Fathers Ault and Renz, as well as Annalise's parents, faced trial for neglected homicide in 1978. The priest maintained the exorcism was successful and liberated Annalise from the demons possessing her. Ault even claimed some of the wounds were the wounds endured by Jesus Christ prior to his death. The evidence didn't line up, however, and it wasn't enough to sway the courts. All parties were found guilty, but their sentences varied. Ault and Renz were charged with manslaughter and given 6 months in prison. Their sentences were later suspended. Annalise's parents received no punishment, as the German legal system deemed they had experienced enough suffering.
During a 10-month span between 1975 and 1976, and though they're completely in the German language, the tapes remain incredibly disturbing. During the lengthy exorcism, the Catholic Church came to believe that Annalise was possessed by the spirits of Hitler, Nero, and even Lucifer himself. Annalise Michel died on July 1st, 1976, from severe malnutrition and dehydration. Ernst Ault and Arnold Renz, the 2 priests who performed the exorcism during those 10 months, were found guilty of manslaughter, but neither served any prison time.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button.
Ja, aber die wenigste beten. Ja, und in Kirche wird am allerwenigsten.
Remember to lock your doors.
Unmodern. Ja. Fast. Die sind ja so blöd, wenn sie
warum?
Nein, ich sag's nicht. Weil er eine starke...